Hey everyone, welcome. Today we're going to jump into a really powerful message from Pastor Paulo. It's all about one of the biggest paradoxes in our faith, how the cross, which looks like the ultimate symbol of defeat, is actually where we see God's incredible power. It's a totally upside down idea, so let's get right into it. Okay, so let's start with the core puzzle of the Christian faith. And really, it all revolves around this one pretty confusing symbol, right? The cross. At first glance, it really doesn't make a lot of sense. It looks like weakness, like total failure. And this really lays out the conflict perfectly. The Apostle Paul even talked about this. He said that to the world, the message of the cross just seems like foolishness. It looks like weakness. It looks like failure. But for those of us who are being saved, it's the exact opposite. It's the very power of God, it's the wisdom of God, and it leads to salvation. So how could it possibly be both of those things at the same time? To really wrap our minds around this, we first have to take a look at how the world thinks about power. Because God's approach, well, it's a direct response to, and honestly, a complete reversal of our normal human instincts. As Pastor Paulo pointed out, our world pretty much runs on an economy of power. It's all about who has the leverage, who's in control, and who's positioning themselves to get ahead. We see it everywhere, right? Politics, business, you name it. The question that's always underneath is, who's in charge here? And this quote it nails our modern problem, doesn't it? We have more information right at our fingertips than any other generation in history. But has that actually made us any wiser? Pastor Paula suggests that a lot of the time it just adds fuel to the fire in that battle for power, that struggle to control the narrative and define what's true. And this isn't some new thing. You can actually see this shift throughout history, where we look for ultimate truth. Way back in the medieval period, theology, the study of God, was considered the queen of the sciences. But over time, that shifted, first to math, and then eventually, during the Enlightenment, it shifted to human reason itself. We started to rely on the power of our own minds as the final source of all wisdom. So you have our human quest for this big, loud, dominant truth. And then, in complete contrast, you have the way God reveals himself, and it's almost always quiet, personal, and completely unexpected. See, God revealing himself isn't some big spectacle. It's not a show of force to overwhelm us into believing. Instead, he consistently chooses to show us who he really is through humility, through this incredible love, and ultimately, through self-giving sacrifice. I mean, just look at the places he chooses to show up. It's not in palaces or these grand temples. It's in a humble manger, by an ordinary riverbank, through a gentle whisper to a prophet. And of course, most importantly for us today, on a criminal's cross at a place called Golgotha. God's way is always to draw us in, not to overpower us. So let's zoom in on the cross itself, because this isn't just some historical event that happened a long time ago. No, it's a direct confrontation to every single worldly idea we have about power, about authority, and what it really means to win. You have to understand, back in the Roman Empire, the cross was not a religious symbol. It was basically a state-sponsored billboard, and its message was simple and absolutely brutal. This is what happens when you dare to challenge the power of Rome. It was the ultimate symbol of terror, shame, and public defeat. And right here, this is the breathtaking reversal. God takes the world's most terrifying symbol of oppression and power, and he completely transforms it into the ultimate unveiling of his two greatest qualities: his absolute unconditional love and his completely unexpected world-changing power. I just love this quote from Augustine. The cross, a place of execution, becomes a pulpit. You realize the greatest sermon ever preached wasn't just with words. It was with an act of supreme, sacrificial love for every single one of us, even for his enemies. Okay, so what in the world does this mean for us right now? If God's power looks like sacrifice and humility, what does strength look like in our own lives? Well, it's a completely different kind of strength than the one we're usually taught to pursue. Think about it. The world tells us, be strong, don't show any weakness. You gotta handle it all yourself. Just push through the pain. But the strength we see at the cross, it looks totally different. It's having the guts to admit you don't have all the answers. It's being willing to actually accept help when you need it. And it's about trusting God, especially when you're right in the middle of a storm. Jesus lays this out so clearly in the Sermon on the Mount. I mean, look at who he calls blessed, the ones who are truly happy and fortunate. It's not the powerful, it's not the self-sufficient, it's the poor in spirit, those who mourn, the meek, the merciful. He completely flips our definition of what a successful, powerful life actually looks like. So here's the crucial takeaway. Our moments of weakness, those times when we feel totally inadequate or helpless, they are not failures. In God's upside-down economy, those are the exact moments where His strength can show up in the most perfect and powerful way in our lives. And all of this brings us to the final point from Pastor Paulo's message. This whole concept, it's not just some cool theological idea to think about. No, it's a direct personal invitation to every single one of us. Jesus makes the call himself, crystal clear. To follow him means to take up your cross. It means we have to embrace this upside-down way of living, where you find real life not by grabbing for power and control, but by letting go, by losing your life for his sake. So, what does this actually look like day to day? Well, here are the takeaways. It means choosing to be faithful even when no one is watching, instead of chasing after recognition. It's choosing humility over all the hype. And maybe most of all, it's choosing to act out of selfless love for others instead of just serving our own self-interest. And that brings us to our final question. This is really one for you to think about personally and to dig into with your group. As you look at your own life, your work, your family, your friendships, where is God inviting you to let go of the world's idea of power and to embrace His upside-down strength? It's a great question to take right into your discussion time. We'll leave it there for you to explore.